Hi friends, welcome back. So question for you, is Elon Musk and Tesla a fraud? That's the subject of today's video, and in fact is also a subject of a US DOJ probe. We got to get into the details of this thing. It is a wild story and it's just breaking now. Let's jump right in. This is the headlines, guys. In Tesla Autopilot probe, US prosecutors focus on securities and wire fraud. So this is May 8th. 2024, and man, crazy story. Okay, let's take a look at this here. U.S. prosecutors are examining whether Tesla committed securities or wire fraud by misleading investors and consumers about its electric vehicles' self-driving capabilities. And this is coming from three people familiar with the matter. So, unfortunately, this is just how it is. I understand how the Tesla pumpers and the Elon Musk and Tesla sort of enablers act. They say, oh, well, if it's in the mainstream media and if I don't agree with it, therefore it must be false. That's going to be their response. But I'll just tell you the truth, guys. I mean, this kind of stuff has been questioned for a long time because this is just the reality. Elon Musk and Tesla have been advertising this whole full self-driving stuff for years, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work as advertised. It's literally called full self-driving, but it's not. So that's like known. It's in the public, and the question is that fraud? Is that wires and securities fraud? And I want to go through some more details of this stuff because I think this is so important. Because obviously, and this is from Elon Musk's own mouth, where if Tesla can't do these things being full self-driving, then the stock is worth very, very little compared to what it is now. Moreover, it says here, Tesla's autopilot and full self-driving system assists with steering, braking, and lane changes, but not fully autonomous, right? That's the key, not fully autonomous, even though they call it full self-driving. How do you get away with that? While Tesla has warned drivers to stay ready to take over driving, the Justice Department is examining other statements by Tesla and Chief Executive Elon Musk, suggesting its cars can drive themselves. And this is something, too, which I think is interesting, sort of explains Elon's sort of recent crazy behavior, is, why is he so, suddenly concerned about free speech and stuff like that? Because if you live in that world, if you say, okay, anything goes, free speech, say anything I want all day, every day, basically says, hey, I have freedom to lie. I have freedom to make up stuff. I have freedom to say that my products can, go to Mars and back in half a millisecond or whatever, right? Like, you guys see what I'm going with here? So if you want to go, from Elon Musk's defense, is like, well, I'm free to say whatever I like. That's sort of kind of, I think, the route they're trying to go. The problem is, guys, I mean, I'm just being honest with you. The problem is, like, what if Apple comes out and says, hey, guys, we're building a submarine and it's only going to cost you $1? Like that's just a blatant lie, right? I mean, do you guys understand the problem with that? And, when it comes to a publicly traded security and like a company that's selling consumers, goods, products, and said products don't work as advertised, usually consumers get upset. We live in this strange world, though, however, where like people defend liars and frauds. I personally don't get it. I mean, yes, I'm sure you can argue whatever you want to argue, but for me, if I'm on the wrong side of something, I'll just admit, I'll say, guys, I'm wrong, because I don't want to defend liars and frauds. That's just my opinion. But everyone has got to do what makes sense for them. Also, too, that there's we'll go through more details and stuff. It says U.S. regulators have separately investigated hundreds of crashes, including fatal ones, that have occurred in Tesla with autopilot engaged, resulting in a mass recall by the automaker, right? Reuters exclusively reported the U.S. criminal investigation into Tesla in October 2022, and it is the first to report the specific criminal liability federal prosecutors are examining. Yeah, and I remember when this first was reported. So we knew it was happening, just it's kind of my guess or my hunch is they've talked to enough people, got enough evidence to where they're leaking more and saying, hey, it looks like this is what we're going after. Because essentially when you first start these investigations, you kind of look at lots of different things and then you kind of narrow it down to what you think you can win, right? And investigators are exploring whether Tesla committed wire fraud, which involves deception in interstate communications by misleading consumers about its driver assistance systems, the sources said. They're also examining whether Tesla committed securities fraud by deceiving investors, two sources said. So, right. So, are you deceiving consumers? That would be one, and then also two, are you deceiving investors. So there's like two different categories. So that's why you have the wire fraud and the securities fraud. Crazy stuff. It's crazy stuff. The Securities and Exchange Commission is also investigating Tesla's representation about driver assistance systems to investors. One of the people said the SEC declined to comment. Tesla did not respond to requests for comment. No, of course they wouldn't. No one's going to decline. I mean, this is a major story. Last October, it disclosed in a filing that Justice Department had asked the company for information about autopilot and full self-driving. The Justice Department declined to comment. The probe, which is not evidence of wrongdoing, so this is important. I also believe in justice, right? I believe in investigation. Someone has the right to defend themselves, etc. I believe in all these things, right? Let justice take its course. So just because they're doing a probe doesn't mean they're necessarily guilty, right? So the probe, which is not evidence of wrongdoing, could result, this is the possible ramifications, could result in criminal charges. That would be some things, civil sanctions, or no action, right? So a couple different things could happen. Prosecutors are far from deciding how to proceed, one of the sources said, in part because they are sifting through a lot of documents, voluminous documents Tesla provided in response to subpoenas. And it's kind of funny because, and this might be a game that Tesla's playing, the Justice Department says, hey, give me some stuff on that. And then Tesla's strategy be, we're just going to give them, all kinds of stuff because we know that we are going to try to bury the truth, right? So that's something like, if you work over the Justice Department, you're not paid as much as, say, on the Tesla side, right? And you're just digging through stuff. And sometimes companies try to outspend you in this way and bog you down with info. So that's kind of interesting that it might have taken this long. Also says here, Tesla's videos demonstrating the technology that remain archived on its website. The person in the driver's seat is only there for legal reasons. He's not doing anything, the car driving itself. And these are old things you've probably seen before, but the basic gist of it, though, is, again, are you misrepresenting things? We've also seen reports in the past where, Tesla's sort of been, how can I say, whatever to say it, misrepresenting the ranges on their vehicles, and Elon has specifically asked for that. That's been reported by engineers. I've seen that. Or whenever they do advertising, they'll do multiple takes of things until they get it the way that it looks, meaning that a product may not work, right? But in advertising it may seem like it works. I mean, if you do, say, 20 takes and you finally get it to work, maybe it worked 1 out of 20, but the other 19, it didn't work. That kind of thing, right? So, and I'll let you guys be the judge of that stuff. I'm just saying Tesla's been known to, how can I say, walk the line of what truthfulness is, and also relates to Elon Musk. He does the same kind of thing, that he words things in ways that are always half truths. Like, so for example, I say, Reuters comes to report that, they're canceling the Model 2, and Elon Musk will say Reuters is lying, right? But about what, right? So that kind of stuff, it's always particularly in your words, to where there's always gray area with Elon and such. They're talking about more details about conference calls and different things that, they've said. There's another key point when I go over here. This is the legal challenges. So prosecutors scrutinizing Tesla's autonomous car claims are proceeding with caution. So they're taking their time, recognizing the legal hurdles they face. The people familiar with the inquiry said, and a lot of times with this stuff, you got one shot at it, right? You're going to accuse Tesla and Musk of fraud on this thing of FSD. You got one shot to take them to court or whatever, and you're not getting another chance. So make sure you get all your ducks in a row. Let's proceed with caution. They will need to demonstrate that Tesla's claims crossed a line from legal salesmanship, and I think this will probably be the key of the case, crossed the line from legal salesmanship to material and knowingly false statements that unlawfully harmed consumers or investors. So right here, this is what the case is probably going to be resting on. And for those of you who like to watch the lawyer movies, or for those of you who are law students or lawyers, etc., it'll be really interesting, right? So essentially what's interesting about this stuff is when Elon Musk put out that the thing of, you need to fire people, etc. One of the things that Elon wanted from the employees that they do keep on staff is loyalty. So it's like the mafia over there, right? So, if you're facing these kind of charges, that's what you need. You need loyalty. You need everyone at the company to keep their mouth shut. You need everyone to get the company to not spread any damaging evidence, these kind of things. I think it's going to be tough, though, to be perfectly frank, guys. The way Elon's behaving as of late, firing a whole bunch of employees, I mean, it just takes a couple like really unhappy employees are like, dude, you took my merit pay, and then what could have been kind of neutral person could turn into more like adversary, where like they're like purposely going after other employees and say, hey, I got some dirt, you got some more dirt, right? Like you're just creating too many enemies. The thing is, and this is also really, and guys, I get it more than you know, for people who defend the Musks and are the enablers, etc., and defends the Teslas, they'll be like, this is just the government because they just don't like Musk and they just don't like free speech. And there's gonna be people who say that kind of stuff, right? There is. I just acknowledge that exists. The problem is whenever they say those kind of things, it doesn't actually address the key point here is whether or not Tesla's committing fraud, right? And that's why I focus on that stuff because again, to me, it's all public. Everything is public. We've seen it for years. And the problem with this sort of issue is like you get so used to it. And it's a problem in US culture. You get so used to people just making stuff up and you're like, oh, that's just Elon being Elon, right? And it's a problem. I think it's a real problem. And if you don't think so, I don't know what to say. You say, Chris, why is the problem? Because increasingly we're going down these paths where just people just make crap up. Like for example, if I say, hey guys, I'm going to sell you a car, give me a deposit, like literally someone's handing you money, and then that car doesn't show up. Like I'm talking about the Roadster here. I mean it's just it's unethical. It just creates this bad culture of you can make a whole bunch of promises and take people's money and do whatever you want with said money, a free loan basically. And you kind of just let companies do whatever the heck they want, just like run free like the Wild West. Or in the case of the full self driving, it's just like I guess we can just name our products whatever the heck we wanted to name. Like I'm just gonna name a car flying car, even though it doesn't fly. Like and to be fair, I mean, I'm just thinking like for example, if I name a car like Red Lightning, but the car's not really the Red Lightning, and I think that would be the defense Tesla would make. They say, well, even though it's not fully autonomous, we just called it full self driving because we thought it sounded cool. Just like we call a car Red Lightning, even though it's not Red Lightning. I mean, they're going to try to make that case because you go back here where it says they don't need to demonstrate that claims Tesla crossed a line from legal salesmanship, right? So salesmanship, and Musk is a great salesperson, right? He knows how to hype people up. He's got all his pumpers out there, etc. They're really good at that kind of stuff. But then knowingly making false statements. So this is, so like for example, generally speaking, let's say your range on your car is, we'll just say 300 miles or whatever it is, right? And you advertise as being 300 miles and you run tests and you say, okay, everything's 300 miles. But like if there's documents that come out that all the engineers are saying, yo, this car is only 200 miles, and then Elon issued an order to say it better say 300 because it's got to match the marketing, that kind of stuff. Like that's the kind of thing that would really nail the company or Elon, right? If there's like a line of evidence that someone's saying this is definitely false, and then they put out something knowing that there was opposition. No, that kind of stuff can how can I say, those kind of emails or documents can conveniently disappear when needed. So I do think though that this is probably the crux of it. So it's going to be who's gonna have the goods and the information, right? And then I'll be curious how the pumpers handle this stuff. Though I think that their defense will just be the government is just hates Elon, that kind of stuff. That's probably the defense. But I do think if a real defense is to address the key points here, right? So that's why I have that highlighted. Let's see what else this stuff says. It says here, U.S. courts previously have ruled that quote puffery or quote corporate optimism regarding product claims do not amount to fraud. So you can be very optimistic about stuff, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's fraud. In 2008, a federal court ruled that statements of corporate optimism alone do not demonstrate that a company officially intentionally misled investors. So, like, for example, they could say, well, we really thought full self-driving, we thought we'd finish development by next year. It just didn't happen. And then we said the same thing the next year, but it just didn't happen. So that would be the defense you would take. Like, we really honestly believe that we could do it, but it doesn't necessarily mean we are purposely lying. And that's where the documents come into, where if there are any sort of, employees in the company that are like, I definitely know we can't do it. I definitely know people are going to get hurt, with autopilot, et cetera. I definitely know it doesn't work. and then it's kind of ignored. And if you guys don't think this stuff is, if you don't take this stuff seriously, because I know Tesla pumpers and stuff like that, they just think all this is nonsense. Just understand the Boeing situation, right? If a whistleblower comes out and says, "Yo, these planes aren't safe," we need to live in a world to where like we have to have some reality. We have to have some accountability if management just ignores a whistleblower. So that's my feeling on this stuff. I come from a world of like I like truth, I like justice, this kind of stuff, and also too, to be fair, if Tesla is innocent, let them be innocent. So not guilty until until it goes to court and they have a chance to defend themselves, etc. Another way you could say it is innocent until proven guilty. So I'll just say though, all this stuff has been in public, and we can see it with our own eyes that Elon likes to indulge, exaggerate this kind of stuff, but doesn't amount to fraud. That's going to be the thing. So they'll go with the defense of corporate optimism will be their defense. Also says here, Justice Department officials will likely seek internal Tesla communications as evidence that Musk or others knew they were making false statements, as I explained to you guys. Said Daniel Richmond, a Columbia Law School professor and former federal prosecutor. That is a challenge, Richmond said, but the safety risk involved in overselling self-driving vehicles, self-driving systems, that is, also, quote, speaks to the seriousness of prosecutors, a judge, and a jury would take the statements. And again, I bring up the Boeing situation. There's another issue going on, and this is with the National Highway and Traffic Safety. They're asking for more details of FSD, et cetera. But and that it's a separate story, but it's all related, because essentially, the question is, does your product work? Did you falsely advertise said things? Are you misleading investors, and are you misleading consumers? And we know with the situation with the Delaware situation, with the whole Elon Musk pay package, the judge ruled that the board was not essentially looking after, doing their fiduciary responsibility, looking after investors. The sad thing about this stuff, guys, and it frustrates me to no end, is as much of YouTube, of the pumpers and the stock promoters, stuff like that, they're basically just going to misinform their audience and maybe not even talk about the story, right? Or do it in a snarky kind of way that just downplays it. But just remember the Boeing situation and take this stuff seriously, because yes, people's lives are on the line. We're talking about, I read a story, I think it was Reuters, I want to say 4 months ago, and there was one of the pumpers that really downplayed the story and skipped over an important parts. And like the story was, I remember it was literally the wheels are falling off some of the Teslas. And there was a story where a guy was like driving with his family, and the wheels like literally fell off. And he was lucky that they were going slow and they're close to their home, so they weren't on the freeway. But if you're putting out faulty products, like say the Boeing situation or the Tesla where wheels like actually fall off, it is serious. And the problem with Tesla, from what I can tell, and guys, I read this stuff every day, is they're interested in pumping the stock, which is one, and they're interested in cutting corners and trying to build cheaper product and then selling it for a higher price, because that increases products, but at the expense of safety. So like from Tesla's point of view with the design of the Cybertruck, they really didn't want to have side view mirrors, because it's like, why do I want mirrors? It's like, and from a cost perspective, yeah, I cut the mirrors, right? And Tesla's point of view is like, well, we got cameras, why have mirrors? But there's a reason why you have this kind of stuff, because what if your camera doesn't work? That's why you need a dang mirror. Or if they do put stuff that's required by the government for safety, they put like a really sort of cheap version of it, etc. And it's a systemic problem over at Tesla now. Does not caring about safety indicate fraud? That's a different subject, but I'm just saying it's all related. And the more I cover this stuff every day, I think the thing that frustrates me the most, again, is just people out there just mislead and purposely lie. All I can say, guys, is when you look at this stuff, you hear about this stuff, right? Just take a look at all the information. That's all I ask. That's all I ask. It's frustrating because the pumper channels will do an earnings report and skip the freaking page that shows the earnings. Like, that kind of stuff is nonsense. So I read to you, as much as I could. If you want to read the details of the other stuff, this is the title of the article. It's all right there. But it looks like the key, again, is just make sure you guys, that is clear, is this, corporate optimism. What was the line here? It was under the legal challenge part. Yeah, so we'll just go one more time. This is from prosecutor side. They will need to demonstrate that Tesla's claims cross the line from legal salesmanship to material and knowingly making false statements, right? So that's the key. Anyway, thanks again for watching, everyone. Love to hear your thoughts on this, and I'll catch you next video.